Nomsa, welcome to the African Tech Writers and Speakers Forum. I'm so happy that you are our first official guest. We have collaborated over the years quite a bit. You are an inspiring African woman that we can learn so much from. So welcome, and maybe to kick it off, tell the audience a little bit about yourself and the kind of work that you're doing.
Thank you, Johan. I'm truly honored to be your first speaker. I'm really excited about this new journey that you are starting. It's been a great pleasure to collaborate with you. My name is Nomsa Nteleko. I am a mother and I am a businesswoman that operates in the STEM industry or in technology. My role is to look at technologies that can help businesses, both businesses that are small, medium, as well as large organizations. So I lead two organizations. One organization is OS Holdings. At OS Holdings, we implement financial management systems, business management system, and payroll systems. And this is where we help businesses, strategically grow and ensure that they have automation that can help them either become profitable or have data that will make them make intelligent decisions. And I had a great pleasure of joining the Amatuba team 5 years ago. Amatuba is a startup that is in South Africa that focuses on artificial intelligence. The biggest thing about Amatuba AI is that we want artificial intelligence accessible to everyone and affordable for the African market. We believe that we need to be building IP that we can take to the global market because Africans are innovators and we have enough challenges that force us to innovate. So I've been blessed to lead these two organizations. Thank you.
It's fantastic. We've got so many big global firms in AI, but over the years, I've met people like you and your team who are doing incredible work, but African-specific work, specific to our own socio-economic circumstances, our own challenges, and it's so inspiring to know and to meet people like you and Nomsa. I want to ask you, how do you share what you've learned? Because I do believe we have experience, we have insights. Often, many of us, we feel a bit kind of shy in sharing it in global or public kind of platforms. But, as somebody who I've seen speak in public, and we've been on a number of conference platforms and discussions, what are some of the things that you have learned as a public speaker in this space, and especially for our viewers who are, many of them are aspiring speakers? Just share some of those learnings, whether it was mistakes made, things you wish you knew. Just tell us a bit about your experience so we can learn from you.
Great. Thank you, Johan. I think the first thing about my experience is that I would say I'm an incidental speaker, in a sense that I've never aimed to be a speaker before this, because what I would share would be about my business and my journey, of being a businesswoman operating in a white male-dominated and foreign male-dominated industry. So I shared a lot about my journey. So that's how I started speaking, because I would be invited to share about the solutions we offer and about my journey as a woman. And I think the mistakes I made initially was not being confident enough to share, being fearful, where I wonder, is my story worth telling? Is what I want to share worth telling? And therefore you find that you are invited to speak, but you're not open and you don't give detail about what you want to share about because of your own insecurities, to say, oh, I'm not a speaker, I'm doing this for the first time. Is this information worth sharing? So that is one of the challenges we face. We need to get out of our fears and get out of our comfort zone and actually go and share experiences, because there's one person who really needs that. And the other thing is, where you don't research the topic sufficient enough, or let's say, for instance, you are given a topic and you don't understand the English that is in this topic, and you go into a stage and you realize while there to say, I think I misunderstood this topic. So it's very important that if you are not clear about what you are asked to speak about, get clarity, get understanding, also try and understand who your audience is to match your research with your audience and to match your talk with the right and the relevant people. So those are the key things that, I've experienced as challenges. And I wish someone would sort of work with me, which is what you've done, to say, actually, someone needs to hear what you ought to say.
Absolutely. I mean, you've just verbalized something that I've been struggling with, and I think a lot of our viewers. The first one is the uncertainty or the unclarity about the event. I find some conference organizers are very good in giving you all the detail you need, especially who is the audience, at what level are they? Are they technical? Are they business people? Are they in a specific domain like HR professionals, for instance? So that you can obviously plan your message accordingly. But a lot of conference organizers, you have to ask them those questions. And this is maybe one of the key tips for our viewers. Don't be shy to ask many questions. And the reason is you want to give the best possible talk that you can give them and that their audience learns from it and enjoy it. But if you're uncertain about anything, especially the topic, how to frame it, who's the audience, you have to ask many questions. And then the first thing that you said, which I've resonated with so much over the years, is this feeling of who will listen to me? What do I really have to say? Why will they even invite me? And it's very human nature. It's a daunting thing to stand in front of people. And obviously we worry that they're going to think we are not beautiful or we are stupid or our English is not good enough. Very human. But you did allude to something that I want to just latch on to, is that one person maybe in the audience that really needs to hear what you have to say. And that's something that's changed my public speaking a few years back. I was very self-conscious. I've always been, and I still am, very nervous when I speak. But when I realized that I have a moral responsibility to share, even if it's my limited insights, my limited experience, in my own personal way, and there's just one person, there might be 20, but even if there's just one who really benefits from it, then the attention goes from, I hope I'm good enough, to, I have to do this, because to whom much is given, much will be expected from. So that is a great lesson. And then, after that, now having experience in speaking, I guess there are still things we struggle with, like the nerves, the uncertainties never go away. You almost have to get over yourself. But every time I'm invited, I'm initially scared. Do you share that feeling also?
Oh, yes, of course, because I think it comes from respecting your audience. If we're not nervous about things, it means we probably no longer respect our work, and we have to always respect our work. So I'm very nervous, before I go into that room, before I go into that stage. But what has helped me, all these years is firstly, breathing. It's amazing, something as simple as breathing and, centering yourself. It helps a great deal. But also the other thing is ensuring that you have researched your topic properly and you really understand what you need to be speaking about. It helps in terms of reducing the nerves a little bit. And I think I found that when, for instance, if I'm in a panel interview, that conversation with either the person that will interview me or either with the panelists, just to chat a bit, get to understand each other a bit. By the time you walk into that stage, you feel a little bit better to say, actually, I'm just going to have a fun conversation with my fellow colleagues that are respected in the industry. And it's such an honor. And the best I can do is be very authentic, be present to this moment right here, and do my best to deliver what is expected of me.
Oh, so true. Because I often say I can't do a Steve Jobs or an Elon Musk or whatever. I'm me. And I
Yeah.
can't give you more than me. And people, I don't think we always know why, but we naturally resonate with authenticity. Sometimes I've been at conferences where somebody is speaking, they're obviously brilliant, the content is great, but I just get a feeling of you sound like an echo and not like a voice. This doesn't sound like you just chat GPT your talk, probably, you know. I also find that audiences resonate with your weakness. If you say, and you're honest, there's some things I don't know, there's some things I struggle with. Um, but I don't think people want an expert, know-it-all person on stage because they can't identify you. They want to come and chat with you afterwards because you feel like you're one of them. And the other thing you said that helps me with conferences is I always try and be there an hour or two before I speak. Firstly, I don't have the worry of rushing. I don't know where to park. I don't know which room to go to in this big conference center. But what really helps me, and you've alluded to it, Nomsa, is to then chat with the other speakers, chat to the conference organizers in the coffee breaks or lunch breaks, chat to the audience. They might not even know you're going to speak, but you get a vibe of the audience. You pick up, most people are talking about fear of AI, for instance, and maybe that wasn't your main focus, so maybe you should pivot your talk a little bit. But by the time I walk up, even though I'm still nervous, I feel a lot more settled. And I think that's important for people. What I want to ask you next is if you're an aspiring speaker, how do you get the attention of conference organizers? Because maybe no one knows about you yet. Maybe your LinkedIn profile is semi-okay. Often we get invited through a reference. That's great. But, how do you build your profile publicly, like on LinkedIn, maybe a website, so that people reach out to you before you have to reach out to them? Because that's the big thing. If somebody is listening and they say, I want to become a speaker, I've never done anything much, I've never written, I don't have any videos of my previous talks, but I want to put my hand up and say, consider me for a talk. How do you get on the radar of conferences, do you think?
What has worked for me is that you have to network, and you have to be in the network of the spaces in which you want to grow, and you should be able to, be available to speak at no cost for you to learn and for you to be trusted. So if, for instance, you are passionate about technology, you need to know who talks about technology. There are many organizations that are talking about technology. There are many event organizers that organize tech conferences. You have to familiarize yourself with those individuals, and you should be able to share your work, to say, this is what I've done and this is what I would like to do. This is my vision. These are the people that I would like to speak with, and I believe that those are the people that will start sharing your CV. Those are the people that will start referring you. You have to put yourself out there, especially the first speaking opportunities. My very first speaking opportunity, it was through a friend who thought they liked how I sounded. And if I speak, maybe I would be able to share my story. And my very first speaking engagement was literally 5 minutes with a number of international speakers. So you can imagine the speed. And I had to go there, speak my heart out, share, and represent my country. And from that day, I started getting more invites. And it's because someone noticed me and they wanted to hear what I could do. And from there, many people start hearing you. So you have to share. If you are speaking or if you've spoken, you have to share with someone else to say, this is the work that I've done. And be happy to be critiqued, to say, oh man, your lighting was so bad. That was my first critique, was my lighting was so bad. And so I had to fix a number of things before I take my next speaking engagement. In a nutshell, network and go to the places where you want to be impactful.
Yes, it's like planting a seed and waiting for it to grow. I'm reminded of one of the best books I read a few years ago by Malcolm Gladwell called the Tipping Point. And the
Yeah.
principle here is when you've done that first talk, there will be people there that will consider you to speak to their businesses, their teams, maybe their conference. But until you have that daunting guts of actually going, the process won't start. You have to put that seed in the ground and then water it and nurture it, and it will grow. And then it pivots exponentially in time. I want to ask you, do you prefer in-person or virtual events, and what are the pros and cons of that? Because they both are challenging, Nomsa.
Thank you for that question, Johan. I must say that I prefer the in-person events. My preference, but it doesn't mean I won't do a virtual event, and I'll tell you why. In-person events, you can sort of assess the vibe. You can speak to people. You can feed off the energy in the room. It's one of the things that I really like, just to feed off the energy in the room. Earlier, you spoke about talking to the audiences, during coffee break, understand where their thinking is, try and figure out, what is it that they would like to hear. Besides the fact that, in person, you get to meet many like-minded people, you get to network. I think it is such a beautiful thing to deliver your talk in person, because then you feel tangible. People can touch you, they can have a conversation with you, they can feel your energy. Obviously, the biggest issue around it is that you need to try and make sure that you have a proper eye contact and you are able to engage with your audience and follow where they are. You can see when you are losing them, so it becomes hard because you're not only focusing on speaking, you're also focusing on reading the room to say, is my talk going the right way? Am I losing people? Am I still in sync with the audience? So that is my favorite. But I love the virtual ones as well. But the greatest challenge with it is you don't feel the energy. You don't touch. The energy is not tangible. You really have to depend on your full energy, and it's not always easy. And you don't always see if the other person gets you.
You're right. It's an artificial experience. What I sometimes do, because obviously presenting virtually, I try and look at the camera. I might have my slides here or on this screen. But to your point, Nomsa, you've got no feeling of, you don't even know if people are listening. In fact, you hope they're still there. So what I take a sticky note and I'll draw a little smile on it and I'll put it behind the camera to remind me that there are hopefully still people there, engage with them. Look, it is convenient to speak virtually, but I try and avoid it if I can. But sometimes, and again, for some of our viewers and listeners, maybe your road into public speaking starts with a virtual presentation. And I think we'll probably do some videos on that because it's all about your lighting, your background, where do you look, etc. It's very daunting. Same with public speaking. Next, I want to speak about something you've already alluded to, and it's so important for many of our viewers, I can imagine. We grow up in specific cultural settings, and especially here in South Africa and in Africa, some of our cultures don't emphasize the importance of women. You might grow up in a family or a tribe where your role is not to speak up, maybe not to have an opinion, and now you become this experienced professional. But those growing up experiences are still with you. And I would imagine that many African young women are not confident to speak, potentially because of their culture and how they've grown up. I think you've spoken about this in some of our previous conversations. What advice can you give to young ladies who are struggling with those dynamics?
I think, we have to understand that we can never change our background. and we may not be in a position to drastically change our culture. But what is important is that if you do have a message that you need to share, you have to forget about your cultural dynamics and you need to share that message. But it's not a journey that you wake up and you are able to do. First of all, you need to gather that courage and strength and confidence and be able to differentiate between home and workplace. And it's not very easy because those dynamics in the workplace, they come, to say, you're a woman, what are you doing in the stage? What are you doing speaking up? What are you doing in the pulpit? Even in churches, we experience those challenges where a woman's voice is not necessarily welcome. And that's the main reason a woman's voice needs to go out there, because there are young girls that are coming behind us. Now, if we stand up and we speak, they will see that someone looking like me, who has walked my path, who comes from the same neighborhood, the same background, is able to stand out there and speak their piece and show that they can succeed in whatever it is that they need to succeed in. So it is a need. And we need more encouragement, and we need more. You have to find a mentor. You have to find a Johan that will give you these places where you can express yourself. Because if you don't start, then the next generation will not see the need or feel inspired to start. Because I believe that when we change as women, we are able to change our culture, we are able to change our environment, we are able to change our future, So I would encourage any young women. I had this tagline in my early years that said, success looks like me.
Wow.
And the reason for me that was important was that it's very good to see someone looking like you, very successful, because you know that it is doable. If that person can do it, then I can do it. So we just need to create a conducive environment for women to express their opinions and create a supportive structure. But as women, we need to find mentors, we need to find accountability partners, we need to find people that will cheer us to say, you have something to say, you have something to share, find a stage and share that.
Oh, so much that you've just said I resonate with. I'm critical with especially local conference organizers when I see that most of the speakers and most of the people on the panel are not diverse. And what I've often heard is that they say, but we are doing everything we can to invite women and women of color, but they're not responding. And I think one of the reasons is this, what we've just spoken about, Nomsa. That's not how I've grown up. I don't maybe feel it's my space to speak in front of a bunch of guys or at a conference. But you are right. I think if any of us, if I can identify with you, whether it's gender, ethnicity, or the kind of work you do, I will feel maybe I can do it too. Mentoring is important. And I think I want to encourage young African ladies who's listening to us. When you go to an event or a conference and there is a dynamic African lady speaking, go to her afterwards, exchange contact details. Her time might be limited, but say, will you help me? Can we do at least one call? I think we'll be surprised how many people will be more than open to share their thoughts and connect you. So at least go to the conference if you're not a speaker, but walk up to the lady who's been speaking and say, I like you, I identify with you. Help me. I think that's very important, Nomsa. So just before we end off, what is lying ahead over the next year or so for you? I mean, this tech is changing crazily. Are you focusing on, if you can, on more conferences, or where do you see yourself, call it in the thought leadership space? Could it be more mentoring or writing, or what do you think?
So thank you very much for that question, Johan. I'd like to do more conferences, both national and international, because our space is changing drastically. We cannot be left behind when it comes to technology and artificial intelligence in the African continent. I believe that as much as it's changing, sometimes it's changing high up there. The ordinary person has not yet tapped into it to even understand the changes that are happening. I still believe there's a lot that we need to do in terms of breaking the technology divide. So I will be doing a lot of talks. Hopefully, I get great invites, and I'm also intentional on creating speaking opportunities. That is the first part. The second part is that, yes, I will be mentoring young people this year. There is a university that is talking to me that wants me to mentor their innovative students, or let me say their technology students. So I'm excited about that opportunity. We're also looking at working with high schools in terms of career guidance. So we have this software that can assess a young person to say what career choices you should be making. And it also talks about the world of work, because work changes every day. So we need to start at high schools and identify the bright minds and the need to follow what is their innate ability and talents, choose the right subject and in the right university. So that's what we'll be doing. But the last part that I really want to share is that we have amazing tools that we've developed this year that we will be sharing with different businesses in the continent. So I'm really, really excited about the solutions that we have launched and the technology that we've built. So it's quite exciting. And I think towards the end of the year, I will look into writing, because I believe that there is a space I'm fearful of, but I know that the minute I start, we will be able to produce magic.
Oh. Nomsa, you've always been inspiring when we spoke. I'm so glad that we know each other, that we are friends. You've shared so many wonderful insights. Thank you for being with us today. I can't wait to release our recording and to help people out there. Bless you, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Johan. It's such a great honor. It's very vital for us to have people like you. I was talking to a friend and I'm saying I'm really excited to start with Johan, and I'm so grateful that he's patient with me, and I'm looking forward to this year. May God bless you. May you succeed in everything that you do this year.
Thank you, Nomsa. Take care.
It's a great pleasure. Enjoy your day. Thank you.